Well, here I sit at 12:30 a.m. It is currently going down to 12 degrees Fahrenheit. On Monday, we go up to 46. I'm sitting in my Western Mountaineering sleeping bag, zipped up. I got into it, jumped up and down in it, and I'm very warm, even wearing these. It is very cold. My one dog sleeps in his cage, so I had to do something different because it's just too cold. So I took a couple emergency blankets, wrapped the cage. I then took a couple sleeping bags, wrapped the cage. And it's pretty much about 60 Fahrenheit in that cage I checked, so he's quite comfortable. Um, One other thing I did with the house this weekend was I didn't want to take a chance on a pipe break, and I really didn't. So I went out to the road. I dug up where you shut off the water. And I kind of got thinking about that when me and my son were digging that up. And we should have done that as soon as it snowed. Because had a pipe broke and one didn't. But we spent a good 15 minutes trying to find that thing under snow. That would have meant for 15 minutes water would have been pouring out. And that would have been quite expensive. So once we found it, I then shut the water off at the street. The water was still running in the house. And then I went in the house, opened all the taps, and let everything drain. And it's shut off right now. Now, that's a good trick, believe it or not, because the pipes themselves are not going to expand. They're not going to crack or, anything like that. Now, I've never had my pipes break in over 20 years since I put PEX in. And they have frozen solid over and over and over. But we're getting really cold, so I really didn't want to take a chance. And then I didn't want to be crawling underneath that house in this cold weather. So I shut the water off for the weekend. And we have a lot of water. I mean, I got 5-gallon jugs, 45-gallon barrels, 55-gallon barrels. I got the bathtub filled up. I mean, we got water everywhere. You're just not taking a shower, that's all. It ain't going to kill you for 2 days. I believe the federal government released money to Tennessee. And and our town is small, they originally had a warming center opened up at the radio station. And it looked like it could house, a good 50 to 60 people. Well, that apparently filled up quick. And they were offering a hot meal. It looked like some type of tomato stew or something. Something I wouldn't like, but that's what it looked like. And then they were giving them snacks and stuff like that. They had free firewood in 3 locations, so if you had a wood stove, you could go there and get yourself some firewood. Um, you need 4-wheel drive. That's all there is to it. Then once that warming center filled up, they opened up the National Guard here and turned that into a warming center. So I guess now they can house up to, and they have a church doing a warming center. So they can house up to 500 people, which I guess is almost there, but not quite. A lot of people are running their water, like a lot of you suggested. My next door neighbor is running his water. He asked me about mine because he's seen I had the top off at the street. And I said, no, I shut it off for the weekend. He says, why didn't you run it? I says, everybody asks me that on YouTube. I said, because I'm cheap. I said, I want to save money. I says, when you're running that thing, it's just ticking away. You get $100 bill for that. He says, well, that's true. I says, I don't have little kids. I says, like my neighbor does. I said, there's 3 adults here. It's not like it's a big deal. So the house is warm, very warm. But one thing I like to do is I like to test my gear, and a lot of people know that. And a lot of people are like, get a wood stove, get this, get that. And that's fine, but what happens if all that breaks? What happens if your generator doesn't work? What happens if you don't have enough pellets for your pellet stove? What if you run out of wood, which people have here? Um, what if all this fuel just shuts down? What do you do then? When you go back to the basics, like I am right now with the Western Mountaineering sleeping bag, blankets, pillows, gloves, hats, I mean, can you endure what's going on and how comfortable is it? I mean, you can only lay in bed so long, and I've been in bed quite a bit, staying warm with my other dog, and that gets frustrating. Now I have tons of movies I can watch, so it's kind of like getting out of bed and sitting in my computer chair and relaxing and watching movies on my monitor is very, very nice. And that's what I'm going to do after this video, after I edit it and throw it up. But that's just what I'm trying to figure out and do. Now, these gloves are a godsend. I can't say enough about these. Even when I wear, say, a pair of these regular finger gloves, my hands are still cold, and yet it says -20 on these. Lies. These things are warm. I have a very light jacket on, regular pair of nylon pants, and I got my Western Mountaineering sleeping bag. I am so glad I bought this sleeping bag. I cannot rave about this thing enough. I know it cost me $1,000, and that's a lot of money, but I can't get over it. When I lay in my bed and I unzip this thing unzips like a queen size bed, and I throw this over top of me and my dog. It takes about 10 minutes, and then you start feeling the heat underneath those two little light blankets. They're light blankets. They're not very thick. But I am very comfortable, and I sleep really good. I usually get about 6 or 7 hours, and then I wake up. But that's what I normally sleep. I think that's something old people do. But watch a lot of Facebook. Seeing people post pictures. We've got people that are still with no power 7 days later. Apparently, Tractor Supply in Nashville has been donating generators, and they've been trying to figure out who gets them, who doesn't. There are different counties in Nashville that their power's taken forever to come on, where there's other counties where it came on pretty quick. And apparently those other counties had set up contracts with other places where they would bring in other people to help with the lines. And, they brought in like 400 or 500 extra linesmen. Where Davidson County didn't do that and had nothing planned. They were horrible at what they did, and that's why people are still without power, and they're screaming. Literally screaming. We're talking $1 million homes that haven't had power for over 7 days, and they pay crazy taxes, and they are upset. Rich people get upset when things don't work the way they should. But if everything went down, if the electricity went down, if all energy sources, everything from propane, to wood stoves to everything didn't work, ask yourself simply, could you still make it? It's nice you got the wood stove. It's nice that you had the pellet stove or you got electric heat. I mean, it's nice you have that. But ask yourself, if all that stopped, could you still stay warm? And I've been testing this sleeping bag constantly from being out in my yard. I've got videos on that. To during this storm. And most definitely, I'm very comfortable. And I might go out and buy a couple more of these when I get some more money here, because I'm very impressed with them. So that is one big thing to consider. A lot of people think about, I got to have water, I got to have food. You do need those things. But I'll tell you, being warm is so, so important. I tried wearing just this light jacket, no hat, no gloves, and seeing how long I could last outside. And I was good for about 15 minutes, and then my body slowed down. My knees started hurting. It was harder to breathe. It was difficult. So having the proper winter clothes is very, very important. Everybody's falling out there. The ice is everywhere. It is very hard to walk outside. Not only do you got to be careful of the ice, you have to look up where the buildings have ice sliding off. They've even had to put caution tape up around our hardware stores and places because when that ice slides off the top, oh, it'll kill you. It'll take you out. There's big chunks of ice coming off the roofs. So hopefully by Monday, 46 degrees, Tuesday 50 degrees. We are all looking at those temperatures thinking finally. And it'll take all this ice out and then everything will be back to normal again. But I know one thing. I know me and my dogs can survive these cold temperatures. I know this sleeping bag has been a godsend and it's definitely worth its weight in gold. And I know for a fact that no matter what, I could survive without wood stoves, pellet stoves, electricity, water. I could survive through it all just with one really, really amazing sleeping bag. So that's something to keep in mind. So maybe you'll see me next time when the weather comes up to 46 and everything's melted. I'm looking forward to doing a couple more tests with my tarp um, and getting that set up, and we'll see how that goes. Until then, I'll catch you, my friends, on the next one.